Welcome to another edition of Show After the Show. I'm Rob Dempsey. We are getting to know the people that make our community so great. Gail Dora is along with us from Brook Healthcare. She has some great home care tips to give to you and me today. Let's talk about dementia, because there's one thing that sometimes I'm confused about with dementia, and its relation to Alzheimer's, because I think that there's more than just Alzheimer's that dementia is a symptom of.
Absolutely. 70% of dementia is from Alzheimer's, but then you have the other 30% that can run a gamut. It's almost 200 different reasons as to why. Some are extremely simple reasons, such as a UTI, a very simple antibiotic that can take that away. And then you have more things that happen in the brain over lifetime that can cause dementia. But we do have the 70% is Alzheimer's, and they develop dementia from the Alzheimer's.
I had no idea it was that big when it came to dementia and all the different symptoms or things that can cause it. So does that mean if it's not related to Alzheimer's, that dementia can be cured in a sense?
There's only certain circumstances because medication can cause dementia.
Mm.
Like I said, a UTI can cause dementia. So there are sometimes medical reasons that we can immediately eliminate and tweak the medication, give the antibiotics, but those are the small fixables. Most dementia is a brain disease, and we have to treat it as such. It's one of those things as you would not go to a friend's house who had a broken leg and they've got their leg elevated and say, hey, let's go run a 5K, because you have visual cues. They have a broken leg. They can't run a 5K. When you have someone with dementia, they look like you and me.
That's true.
So it's so hard to understand what's going on in their brain because they look like us, and they were at one time a totally different personality.
Mm.
And so
One
you
th-
have to learn.
one thing that's really sad is, especially when you're going through dementia and elderly, that you're very susceptible to be taken advantage of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's
And
such a generation of trust, right?
right, that generation, our older generation, they were taught to trust. And what they hear from news media and what they hear from, TV and radio, to them, nothing is biased. Everything is black and white on the TV, on the paper, and they believe it. And so if they were to receive something in the mail with a sob story or a phone call, especially the phone calls that we've been getting, I have been inundated with phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I get one, I think to myself, oh, I hope they're not targeting the older generation who's really going to believe that the Social Security Administration is going to come after them if they don't give them the Social Security number over the phone. That's a big
Right.
one. And that's easy for older people to fall for because they're not on social media, they're not hooked into the web like we are. They don't know that these are scams.
Yeah,
They sound
so
legit.
so without us knowing that they're actually falling for some of these things as family members, what are some things that we should be looking out for?
If you are a caregiver or if you are a loved one and you are in the house where you were able to see, you want to see large amounts of mail coming in. You can have someone extremely generous and give to just one or two. And I give to a couple of charities and I become inundated. But some of these older folk who have their charities that they, really close to their heart, I think their names and their addresses are being sold because they're getting 6 to 8 to 10 requests a day for contributions. And for someone with dementia, not only is that overwhelming because I think they feel what they're reading and they want to do everything they can help, but they also don't understand that everybody has limited income. Well, most people have a limited income,
Yeah, that's true.
and you just can't keep writing these checks. So when you start seeing a lot of money going out, a lot of mail going out, a lot of mail coming in, and it's piling up, because the organizational skills are not there, that is overwhelming in itself.
One day you had a client that was kind of going through this that caused some red flags for you to take a look at.
We did. We had a client who was very generous and was able to be generous, which is a great thing. But it started becoming overwhelming where 8 to 10 pieces of mail was coming in a day asking for contributions, phone calls. And this client had such a huge heart that on the phone, hears a sad story and immediately wants to go to that credit card. And so we knew that there was a problem, and the client was even letting us know this is a problem because I'm just overwhelmed. I have all of this stuff. I have to read it. I have to write checks. And so we talked to the adult children and asked, could we intervene on the client's part? And basically, and you want to do this when you have a moment of clarity. So it might not be the first run that you're going to get it. You want someone with moment of clarity, which is usually in the mornings before noon, and you go through the mail and you ask, what is so dear to your heart? What charity do you really want to give to? And you make a list. And then you, next to that charity, how much would you give to that charity and how often? If you can get them to write it in their own handwriting, it is even more validated because it wasn't somebody else telling them what to do. It's their handwriting, so they know that they wrote this. And you put it by the phone, you put it by the bed, you put it on their calendar, anywhere they can see it. They see, okay, I give to these charities. This is how much I give, and this is how often. Then you're going to have to take another step further and go to the Direct Marketing Association and have them remove that person from the mailing. A lot of charities don't have an opt-out option, so you have to call them individually and say, please take this person off of your mailing list. And same thing with the phone. You can go to the do not call registry. That doesn't always happen. So if you can get the client in their own handwriting to put sticky notes next to all the phones that says, only answer calls that I know. When you see the caller ID, only answer the calls I know. If I don't know it, I let it go to voicemail, and then either a caregiver or loved one will help me sort through these voicemails and decide, what is legitimate that we need to write down, doctor's appointments and such, and other things that we need to block those numbers. So there is a way to help get this in control. The client had 60-70% less mailings coming in, able to get that huge stack eliminated. That right there helps so much because that is so overwhelming because organizational skills is not a strong point.
That is some good tips. I can imagine how the family felt after you're able to walk through that process with them and the other caregivers.
Extremely happy because our goal is to have a happy client. A happy client is a happy caregiver, is happy family, and a happy client is going to stay home longer. They're not going to be readmitted to the hospital as much, and they're going to have a better quality of life when they can be at home and just have that little bit of extra help.
That's so good.
Yeah.
You can connect with Brooke Healthcare, by the way, and Gail. You see the website that's posted right here on the screen, so you'll be able to go right to that. And also remember, they're hiring too, so you'll be able to inquire about that. Gail, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you for another edition of Show After the Show very soon.